There we go.
Welcome to the East Springfield Neighborhood Council Board meeting for May. Let's start the meeting with a pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, again, welcome to the Springfield Neighborhood Council Board meeting. We do have a quorum. Kathy's here, Marie's here, Peggy's here, Lynn, Brenda's going to be checking in a minute. Guy's here, Lucy's here, Ken's here. And then we have representatives from Springfield Prep Charter School, and we have representatives from Palmer Paving. So thank you, welcome. We are very glad you could join us tonight. Your questions and your comments and your issues are real important to us. So we want to make sure we stay connected to you during these unprecedented times. So we've tried to come up with this temporary communication method through this live feed. So make sure when you leave this meeting, if you still have additional questions, make sure you get back to us with additional questions that you have. And we will reiterate this later, but you can email us at contact@myesnc.com. Okay. We will continue these digital meetings for at least May, June, and July. And it's important for us to continue to work to protect, improve, and preserve quality of life. Therefore, we are continuing with the plans for our newsletter that will be mailed to all residential addresses in East Springfield. And we're hoping to get that out a little bit right before the holidays, right before Memorial Day. If you, as a member of the public or a member of the board, have particular questions or comments or topics that you'd like to see included in our newsletter, that again goes to everybody in the neighborhood, please get them to us by May 12th and we will try to squeeze them in. I know we're going to be putting a fair amount of information about contact information and a little bit about the COVID and then a little bit about some of our other programs that we are in the process of doing. Because even though we are not able to get together face to face, we are trying to keep as much normalcy to the kinds of work that the neighborhood council does. To that note, 311, the city's one call to City Hall, is still operational, and we encourage you to use that line. Their operators have been very helpful during this crazy time that we're in. So please pick up a phone if you see something that looks wrong. If you need questions or an answer, just give them a call. Another point of information, I know project that all of us have been anxiously awaiting is the rework of the intersection at St. James Avenue, St. James Boulevard and Crew Street. We've connected with the city and we've connected with the state again, and they are actively working on the 25% design. So we expect to hear from them within the next couple of months about a public hearing date. If you remember back, we were supposed to have that hearing right about now, but clearly everything's been pushed ahead. But we did check and the progress is being made on the actual design. They came up with a couple of hiccups in terms of some of the curb cuts that they need to do and design and underground hiccups. So that's what's going on with that. Also, I want to thank Peggy because she's working hard on our newest revised business list. She's trying to get as many of the emails and contact information for the businesses so that when we need to connect with businesses, we can just use the email. We were a little bit at a loss because our list was not up to date as much as we'd like it when this situation happened and the city was looking to provide some grants for businesses. We did reach out to the ones we had, but realized again that we needed to have better immediate communication with the businesses. And also, any resident or business who's listening in, if you don't think we have your email address, would you please send us an email with your address so that we can get it on our list? And again, you can email contact@myesnc.com. Appreciate that. Okay. Guy, are you there?
Yep. So just to let you know, a little update. So I don't know what happened with Facebook, but it is live on our YouTube feed right now.
Okay.
And I rerouted that back to the Facebook page. So if you go to our Facebook page, you can click and see the video from YouTube. So either way, we're covered.
Okay.
Just to go on what we have right now. So we have a program called Art Out of the Box that Irene is working on, who is the co-chair of our art and workshops. We had a lot of programming that was planned for the next few months that was going to be funded by the Springfield Cultural Council and the Mass Cultural Council. We had already applied for the grants and gotten them. We checked with them. We got approval to create art boxes that are going to have all sorts of assorted different things that families can use to create art in the home during this time. Ordering of that stuff has already started. She's going to put together all of these boxes. They'll be labeled. They'll be ready to go right after, probably like beginning of June. It will be in our newsletter, and there'll be more information in our next meeting. And everything will go out for how to actually sign up to get a box dropped off to you. We also contacted a couple of the businesses we work with for the summer programming to see if anyone wanted to put in any art stuff for increasing the boxes or adding to them. So that's pretty much the information on the out of the box project.
Guy, I have a question. Are people able to type in questions to us, or are they not at this point?
They can, but what I'm going to also do is I'm going to put a reminder on the page in just a second and say, hey, if there's any questions, send them over, because this is the first time we've gone on our YouTube page and then pushed back to our Facebook page. So it may throw people off. So,
great.
And once again, whoever's listening, I did see that there's 4 people logged in right now. So there's a few people watching, but I'll check to see as that goes up, because it took a little bit to get the feed going. We had some sort of difficulty where Facebook wouldn't accept the feed. So we did set up our YouTube page recently. So I pushed it to there and then pushed it back. So.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. The other thing to touch base on is the Springfield Water Department has put in a proposed increase for starting in July. It will go up about 17% if that goes through. There's been a lot of talk through different online resources and through the news media in the last few days about this. We wanted to get the information out. There will be a public meeting on June 2nd that the public will be able to attend and give their feedback on this. There's also another board meeting that they're going to have on the 14th. They will not be taking any questions live then, but they will be taking questions ahead by email. And they said that they'd have the information for that meeting to us, so we could provide that to everybody on Facebook and Nextdoor on next week.
Okay. Thank you.
Any questions? All right.
Any questions? No?
Okay.
Bill Spire from the Springfield Prep Charter School is going to talk with us about the fantastic facility. Bill, where are you? There you are.
Thanks, Kathy. Sally, would you like to start us off?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you for letting us be with you tonight. My name is Sally Fuller, and I know when I saw the Zoom gallery that there are some familiar faces because I had worked with your neighborhood council and Kathy for a number of years when I was working for the Davis Foundation, and we had a wonderful project that we were focusing on to make sure children can read proficiently by the end of 3rd grade. And we did a program at your National Night Out where we gave out books to children could choose a book to take home. And we were hoping that families would sign up for our 413 Families texting campaign. So I was very happy to work with you for a number of years until I retired about a year ago. And so what I want you to know is that I have been very involved with education, with children in Springfield, with the Springfield Public Schools around this whole grade level reading focus. So when I retired, I wanted to do something that kept me close to young children, to elementary children. And so I joined the board of Springfield Prep Charter School. And it's in that capacity that I'm with you here because I've been working on a capital campaign for a brand new, for us, facility. And I'm happy, I'm going to turn things over to Bill Spirer, who is an educational leader of the finest caliber. And what we're doing at Springfield Prep Charter School is changing outcomes for children, for all children who are part of our school. So Bill and Megan and our team have a presentation that they would like to share with you so that you can see what we're doing, where we're doing it. And I hope that you'll share some of the excitement that we feel about this new site for Springfield Prep Charter School. So Bill?
Thanks so much, Sally. A very kind introduction. I appreciate it. I just want to reiterate that we very much appreciate the opportunity to speak to everyone tonight. And we know that these are, as Kathy mentioned, strange and uncertain times. So we're very grateful for your time and for the opportunity.
See the new school, Johnny.
So let me see here. Today, what we want to do is introduce the school to you. Some of you may know about it, but many of you may not. We want to share our plans for our new building, respond to your questions, and we do hope to earn the support of the council for this project. This is something that we've been working on for a long time, and we're very excited about it, and we're excited to answer your questions about it. So we have a few people here I wanted to introduce who will speak during the presentation. My name, as Sally said, is Bill Spirer, and I'm the founder and executive director of the school. Megan Wagner's with us. She's our director of finance and operations. You just met Sally. Yanira Delgado is a parent of a Springfield Prep student and lives in close to the Roosevelt Avenue property. And John Furman is a traffic engineer who has done the traffic study and analysis for this site. And we know that traffic is a topic that people want to hear about. And so he'll answer questions and talk about our project. And we have a few other members of our team in attendance as well. Bob Baldwin, Pat Temple, Evan Warner. I'm not sure if Nancy's on, but she may be. And there's a number of people involved. These are big projects, as I'm sure you are aware. So let me see if I can go to the next slide here. So we have our school, just to start with some of the basics. Our mission is to be an inclusive K-8 charter public school that prepares all kids for success in high school, college, and life. And we do that by focusing on rigorous academics and character development. And when we say inclusive, it means that it really matters to us that we are a school that's open to all students, that provides supports to any and all types of learners to make sure that they can succeed and can access a rigorous academic program. And one of the things that I think is very, very important about who we are as a school is that when we talk about being a college prep school, I mean, first of all, you may be hearing that and thinking, well, what does that mean for an elementary school? And what it means is that historically many students have not had access to a true college prep pathway, and we want to make sure that all students have access to that. And what it does not mean is that it's a school only for certain types of students. The process to enroll at Springfield Prep is a very big, simple application: name, date of birth, and address. We don't screen applicants. We're not allowed to by law. And we do a lot of outreach to make sure that families all across the city are aware of the program that we provide. And we're only in our 5th year of operation, but we're very, very proud of the work that our students and teachers are doing together. And actually just last year, we were named one of a handful of schools in the Commonwealth who were named a School of Recognition for the academic work that our students and teachers are doing together. So we're very, very proud of that. So our students come from all across the city, and you can see in this map that they're really interspersed throughout the city, and that's because we are a Springfield specific school. So as long as students live within the city limits, they can attend the school, and we have a number of students who live around in East Springfield and around this location, the Roosevelt location, and we anticipate that number to increase over time as families see the school and see it in close proximity. Also because we anticipate doing more outreach to this neighborhood, given the new location. And also just because when a sibling or when a student enrolls in the school, siblings have preference or receive preference. So typically their students in a neighborhood may begin to, there may be more students in one neighborhood just by virtue of their siblings starting to go to the school. And as I mentioned, one of the things that's very important to us, to our board, to our leadership, and to our entire school community is that we are representative of the city of Springfield, that our student body mirrors and reflects the city of Springfield. And so you can see that we are doing that. And we're moving because we've been in 2 small temporary spaces for our first 5 years of operations. And we take a lot of pride in being small and scrappy, but we want to provide our kids with the classrooms and the school space that they deserve. And this Roosevelt property is going to allow us to have spacious classrooms and up-to-date furnishings and infrastructure and a real gymnasium and much more play space. It's accessible to students all across the city. And we're going to be investing heavily in it. This is a big project. And we'll be doing a full gut renovation of the interior. Like I said, we'll be adding a gymnasium, and then really doing a lot of site work, adding landscaping and greenery, improving on-site circulation, and making some other site enhancements. And as I said, we're hoping that we're confident that this will be a great place for our kids to learn. And we also hope that it adds additional curb appeal to this property. It's a pretty prominent location on Roosevelt Avenue, and we think that we're gonna the additional greenery and site improvements that we're gonna invest in will be welcome to the neighborhood. And we have met with neighbors. We've met with the CEO of Big Y, and he was very supportive of the project. And it means a lot to us to be good neighbors to both businesses and residents. And we take a lot of pride in our school space, and we really aim to be great neighbors to the community. So this is what the site. This is the proposed site plan, and as you can see, on the left side, the building, the existing building, the exterior will be largely unchanged. And in the back, so the upper right, you can see that there's a proposed building addition, and that's the new gymnasium. And you can see play space being added. There's sort of 3 separate play areas. And then around the perimeter, adding greenery and trees and doing the same in the parking lot. So the orientation of this will be, the main entrance of the building will be on what is now the back of the building, sort of on the side opposite Roosevelt Avenue. And as you can see, and we'll talk about in much more detail, there will be a smooth traffic pattern for both buses and cars to drop off and pick up students on that side of the building. And now I'm going to ask John to take over and talk about the traffic impacts and his analysis. So John, can you take the mic and talk about traffic?
Certainly will. Thank you. We have been doing traffic studies and site designs within the neighborhood for a number of projects, and VHB itself is really excited to be part of this project, particularly since it's a reuse of a building. As you all know, there are a couple aspects that are really the main important pieces when you look at traffic. The first is to determine what the increase in average daily trips, or ADTs, will be that project will generate. And then basically the second look is how that increase affects the roadways around the project and how that impact is managed. So that's what our traffic study does, and I'll go through some of the highlights of what we found out. On this slide here, this table 1 is taken from our traffic study. And the two things I want to point out are the first column, which is the average daily ADTs on the 2 roadways. So Roosevelt Avenue, we're looking at 19,000, almost 600 cars per day driving down that roadway. And Industry Avenue, south of Cottage, has 5,522. What's unusual about this traffic study is that we had to prepare it during this COVID-19 outbreak. If you walked out onto the streets right now, you would not see 19,571 vehicles driving down the roadway. So doing traffic counts is a key component of these studies. If we did traffic counts, you would show a fraction of that, and the data would be useless. So what we did is we asked the city of Springfield for other traffic studies that are fairly current and that they had performed in the area. One of them was Big Y, and the other one was, I believe, the school that is right to the south of us. They were both done in 2017. And then we grew the numbers that were done on those traffic counts by 1% per year. That offered us a reasonable look at what the traffic is out there today. We have no other choice. We have no other way to do it. We could go out there and throw counters down, and you'd probably see 500 cars on Roosevelt Avenue, which is meaningless. So that's the strategy that we presented to the city. And the school has offered to go back and do updated counts once life returns to normal, whatever that is, so that we can prove the assumptions that we did are correct. And if they're not, then we'll update the study and we'll figure out what may need to happen based on that. Bill, can we go to the next slide, please? I don't know if I have control over that. All right, thank you. So traffic studies are done on a basis that is consistent across all municipalities and across all of the United States. And that basis is that the vehicle counts, or the ADTs for a use, are predicted out of a set of traffic books published by the Institute for Transportation of Engineers. And so, what we ended up doing is we looked at a school. We based on either the number of students or the number of square footage in the building. We took the most conservative one. And then what we ended up doing is we compared it to the empirical data that the school has to offer. So in the top bullet on the left, you can see this is basically the information that we obtained from the school. There's basically 147 vehicles, entering in the peak hour. 87 vehicles will exit the site during the morning peak. And that number is less because some employees, basically they come in early and then they stay and they miss that peak. If you go down to the second bullet, and this is where the comparison really kind of comes in. So in general, based on the data that the school has provided, we're showing that there will be 189 vehicles accessing the site during the morning peak hour. ITE estimates 316. So you can see we're just about double of where the ITE says we should be. So in order to provide a conservative look at the project and what its impacts may be, we did our analysis based on the ITE rates. So now we have two pieces of information that are analyzed at a conservative nature. First, we took record data and we grew it by 1% per year. And the second is that we use traffic numbers that are about double of what we expect. So now let's go to the chart. So if you look at the top line, which says daily, based on the ITE rates, the school is predicted to have 919 trips during the day total, which we're expecting a fraction of. But again, we use this because that's what is the consistent basis for all traffic. We are allowed to take credit for the traffic that is in that office building. I know that it's fairly vacant at this point, but traffic study standards allow you a 2-year window of which to take traffic that was generated out of a former use and apply it to your increase. So taking that office building at full capacity, we were anticipated, again, using ITE rates, that there would be 468 trips per day. So the net increase, which is the increase that the roadways would be seeing as a result of this project, is basically 451. That is an extremely low number when you compare that to 19,700 vehicle trips per day on Roosevelt Avenue. So then that number is even further broke down into what is the impact during the peak hours. So the peak hours basically being 7 to 9 roughly in the morning, and then at night, I think 4 to 6. So the peak hour in the evening is less of an issue because we are actually having cars, parents visiting the site before the actual roadway peak hits. So the morning is the critical one. And then you can see by ITE, entering and exiting, we're expecting 316. When we take credit for what's there, that number reduces down to 249. And in actuality, we're expecting 189 vehicles. So we have built-in conservativeness all across the board. We then looked at this 2 other aspects. So we looked at the signal operations at the intersection of Roosevelt and Performance Boulevard. And there's more detail provided on that in the actual traffic study. So one of the legs on Performance Avenue operates at a level of service D. Traffic signals operate are analyzed just like a school grade from A to F. So D, it's not that great, but it's still functioning, and we're not impacting it. At the end of a no-build situation, which is 7 years from now, if we did not do anything to this site, the 1% annual growth still had that signal functioning at a level D. And then if we did build here at that same time period, it's still a level D. So what that tells us is that there are really no improvements that we can do to that intersection that would improve that and get that up to a level of service A. And for an anticipated trip generation increase of 451 vehicles, we would not expect that we would be expending thousands and thousands of dollars to improve a signal that we actually couldn't do anything with. So as a traffic engineer, VHB feels very comfortable with the numbers that we have generated here. We have submitted a full traffic study to the DPW. Chris Fignoli and the new city engineer will be reviewing that. We're going to be expecting to get some comments from them, and which we will address. I guess the last item that I would talk about is the queuing going into the site. So when you look at the site plan is very unique, and I've mentioned this a couple times in our meetings internally, is that this site provides a tremendous amount of room for vehicles to queue. They enter in off of Memorial and then they basically circle the building in a counterclockwise manner. And the loading and unloading zone is actually on the side of the building, paralleling Roosevelt. So there's 61 vehicles that can queue completely around that building. And what the school estimates is that there are 79 parents who would be dropping off and entering that queue. The way that the queue is managed, there's a loading and unloading zone, and it operates in block 4. So they estimate that it takes anywhere from 30 to 45 seconds for a parent to enter that loading and unloading zone in like a block of 4. It's managed by staff who is out there assisting them. The children exit the vehicle and the cars pull away, and then the next 4 pull up. So with 79 vehicles anticipated and queuing provided for 61, there's 14 vehicles that you could say they're kind of left out. That is remedied in the first minute and a half of loading and unloading. And if it becomes a problem, there are 104 spaces available on site parking, a lot of which will still be available that staff can direct them into. So we are not anticipating any issues with queuing or cars backing up into the roadway as well. And the last thing that I'll mention is that there's a 15-minute window for pickup and drop off. And we mentioned this in our study that parents learn by history, I guess. So if they show up at the beginning of loading and they find themselves waiting in a queue of 61 cars, eventually they're going to figure out that if they come to the end of the queuing cycle, they may be able just to pull in and pull right out. So the worst case scenario is that all 71 car or all 79 cars pull up at exactly the same moment to start loading and loading, which we know is not going to happen. So the study is just built with so much conservativeness that we do not anticipate any issues with this school operating. So I believe that's all I had to offer. I don't know if there were any questions, or we just want to go through the rest of the slides and we can take care of them later.
Yeah, that sounds good. So we'll go through just a few more slides, and then happy to answer questions. And there can be, of course, questions for John at the end. So Megan, can you just talk a little bit more? John already started talking about this, but talk a little bit about how our arrival and dismissal systems work to make them to allow families to come in and leave in an efficient way.
Yeah, absolutely. And first, I just want to thank the council again for taking the time to hear the details about our project tonight. We know that traffic is always a question on projects like this, so we wanted to just go into a little bit more detail about how the school handles our drop-off and pick-up process and buses on our site. And as has been mentioned a few times, is that we chose this site in part because it has such excellent on-site capacity for both cars and buses, and that it can accommodate all of our parking and all of our drop-off pickup needs on site within the parking lot. And as a school, we've always devoted a lot of time, thought, and energy to communicating our pickup and drop-off systems to our families and training all of our staff on a traffic management plan. And we do all this and spend so much time educating both our staff and our families about the plan because we consider student safety to be one of our most important priorities. So getting this right really matters to us. And then we also put a great deal of energy into ensuring the policies are followed going forward throughout the year. And one way that we do this is by having so many staff stationed outside during arrival and dismissal to guide the process. And so here's just a few key points regarding the process. So that unloading and loading happens really quickly, and that it can happen this quickly because of the multiple staff members. I'll go into this in a little bit more detail, and John discussed it a little bit on the next slide. And also I think some key points that, as neighbors, it's helpful to know, it's just that morning drop off is from 7:40 to 7:55 and afternoon pickup is from 3:55 to 4:10. So that's the time during which this whole pickup and drop off happens. And one last really important note about the process for this site is that students will not be allowed to walk to this campus. School policy will make this really clear that that's prohibited for this campus. And we can discuss that a little bit more. And then next slide, you want to pop ahead, Bill?
Sure.
Great, thank you. So this slide shows an overview of how we plan to manage the traffic flow for drop off and pickup, and to really make it as efficient as possible and as safe as possible. And to also, of course, to have minimal impact on neighbors and nearby roads. So the site will have one access point along Memorial Drive, which is how the site is laid out now. And there will be traffic management staff present to manage the flow of traffic on the site during the morning and drop-off times, as I mentioned. We have found it works most efficiently to have separate bus drop-off line and a separate area for car pickup. So here, buses and vans will turn into the bus-only lane. And you can see the buses sort of to the right side of the screen, and they will be queuing around to the main arrival area there in the back of the school. And then as you can see here, there's actually room for 9 full-size buses. However, we anticipate only 7 full-size when we're fully grown at 486 students. Then the passenger cars will enter through the same entrance, but they will go around the perimeter of the property. So past the big Y side of the building, and then coming up around, as John had said, counterclockwise toward the Roosevelt side of the property. And there in the very front of the building is where the passenger cars will be able to drop off and pick up students assisted by our staff. So as John mentioned, we use a car line model, so parents don't park and get out at all. They just pull up to this point in the line, and there are 4 to 5 staff members unloading kids at one time. So they unload the kids are escorted across into the building, and then the next cars pull up. So this helps it move really, really efficiently. And then we have clear no drop-off areas. So there would be no other area where a student would be permitted to get out of a car. This would be the primary entrance for any car student. So this helps keep the parking lot very safe for kids, and also moving really efficiently during this time to make sure that the process goes quickly. And that also really helps encourages families to follow the system because it does move so quickly. They really aren't trying to look for quicker ways to get around the system. They pull in, and then within minutes they'll be back out. We use a very similar system of a separate pickup and drop off area at our current site for buses and cars, and the same system of sort of valet style car line model. And it's worked really well. Everyone follows the system. And based on how it's worked for our school in the previous 2 locations over the past 5 years, we anticipate no more than 50 cars in the line at any one given time during pickup and drop off because of how quickly, once the car line is moving, you can pull in, drive around, drop off, and get back out within a few minutes. So there wouldn't be, and there'd be very unlikely, as John said, unless all 75 cars showed up at the exact same moment, there'd never be more than 50 cars in the parking lot at any time. And since it can accommodate 60, we feel really great about being able to accommodate all the parent cars off the street during drop off and pickup. And then the only other thing to note here is the parking in general. So this site is really exciting in that it offers over 104 parking spots, and we only have 70 staff members. So there will be plenty of sort of wiggle room in terms of parking spaces available for parents stopping by, or additional parking as needed for any events. And then, as I mentioned before, the one concern that we've heard is about students walking. And I just want to name again that we definitely have that same concern, and we'll absolutely make it a policy at this site that students can't walk to school. All students will be required to either take a assigned bus or be dropped off by car or van. And we have a similar policy in place at our current site, and it's worked very well for all the families our school serves. The vast majority of our students do take the school buses provided by Springfield the regular school buses is how the vast majority get to school. And so we anticipate that that would be very similar at this site as well. And we would definitely discourage and just not allow anyone to walk at this site, and follow up with any families should that happen. As Bill mentioned, we serve a student population that's K through 8. So the vast majority of our students are also so much younger that they, you don't expect 6 and 7-year-olds to be walking on their own to school. That's not typically what we see anyways. So that is also sort of helps in terms of the fact that we don't anticipate any of our students to be encouraged to walk to this site. So now that I've provided quite a bit of the details on how the system works, we thought it might be helpful to hear from a parent who lives in the neighborhood and can speak to how our pickup and drop-off system work from a parent's point of view. So Yanira, if you could share a little bit about your experience.
Hello, good evening, everyone. So my son has been with Springfield Prep for 5 years since the school opened. We have been part of, and experienced both drop-off and pickup from both locations. And I can tell you that everything is so organized. The staff is always out there, whether it's rainy, snow, super cold. They're always managing the traffic and the flow. The parents understand it is all for the safety of our kids. So I have never seen any parents like trying to cut the line or trying to, move a little faster, even though the line moves pretty fast. Also, the children understand the rules of the car lines. You never see any kids trying to get out the car before it's their turn. They know once they get there, the staff will open the door, they get out, and they are escorted to the inside of the school. I have never seen anything that is concerning to me. I am a parent that is always on top of the game when it comes to my children. I have no problem saying when I don't like something or where something is out of line. And I am very comfortable with the way the car line is run. And another thing is I don't see the kids walking to school. I mean, I live in the neighborhood and I will not allow my child to walk to school. So I really don't see that. And even with the high schoolers, you really don't see many kids walking that way. So I really don't think that will happen with elementary school and middle schoolers.
Great. Thanks, Yanira.
You're welcome.
Bob, Bill, I want to interrupt for 1 second because
Sure.
we've heard about, and Yanira has eloquently said how well organized this whole process is, and I've seen it. But what I want you to know is that these scholars, these children come into the school, they walk into the front door, and they are greeted by usually 2 staff members.
Yes.
Usually Bill and the principal, Jess Janos, or maybe Megan, but 2 people. So not only does the staff greet them out in the sidewalk, but these children walk into the front door of the school and they are greeted by name by Bill and the team leaders. And I will tell you, it is one of the most powerful experiences you can watch, to see how wonderful these children feel when they walk into school and they're greeted by name, and they're greeted by a comment about, how are you today? Or are you feeling better? Or are you excited to be here? So that wasn't part of the presentation, Bill. I hope you don't mind. But I will tell you that it warms the cockles of my heart when I see it, because it's this very human connection. I mean, it's so well organized, but then something very special happens when children walk into this school. So thank you.
No, thanks for saying that, Sally. And it is a great community. We are biased, it's true, but it's a great community. And I actually, Yanira's son, Jarian, is in the bottom left corner here. Like I said, he's got one of the best smiles in our school. So he always makes the slides. But we really want to be, traffic aside, we're really excited to be a great neighbor and a great partner to businesses, in the neighborhood, to the council. We think that we hope to be a great addition and to have our students involved in projects and to have our teachers and students out in the community working with other organizations and also patronizing local businesses, which is important. And would love to be able to offer access to our facility if that's something that the community was looking for. And then I'll just end by saying again how appreciative of your time we are, and we, like I said, we are biased, it's true, but we have a really fantastic team of scholars and families and staff, and we're always happy to take questions after the meeting. So I put my contact information here, and we encourage you to check out our website. And if there's time, we're of course happy to take questions now.
Okay, thank you. I think there are a few questions. Are there any questions from the people who are actually on this this Zoom platform right now? Okay, Guy, I think you said there were a couple of questions. Some of them, there were more than a couple of questions. Many of them have already been answered, so I don't think we need to be redundant. But Guy, some questions that have not been asked or answered, please.
Well, the first question was related to walking, but then that was answered during the presentation. Then there was 2 follow-up questions related to that. One, what happens if the parent doesn't get there within the 15-minute window?
That's a great question. I mean, that's our arrival time. Of course, families come late for, you know, whether it's because they have a morning doctor's appointment or just because they're running a little bit late in the morning. So that 15-minute window is our main arrival time, but then there are, you know, on any given day, a handful of families that will arrive after, but that's really, it's usually just a handful. And the reason that we have such a sort of organized process for that main arrival time is that's when we see the bulk of our arrivals.
Okay, and then there was another follow-up question for the busing in and the driving was, there's no legal issues forcing people to not have their kids walk?
That's a great question. I'm a former, or I guess still currently an attorney, so I think that's a really great question. I think that what we, you know, I think probably requiring it and enforcing that is the way that we would do it is just by working with families the way we always have to make sure that they see that the reason for this is safety. And what we do a lot of is working with families, and if there's a transportation challenge, we work through it with them. So if a family's having a hard time getting their child to school for any reason, we would work very closely with them to come up with alternative means versus having them walk to school. So I think we always think that the best way to work as a community is to partner, and we're not a particularly punitive environment. We don't, and we haven't had to be. I think that's an important thing because we've built systems that work well for families.
All right, and then the next question is, there on the presentation there was some open space and some areas for recreation, it looks like. What type of activities, or like, is there a gymnasium, or is there anything that is environmentally beneficial or encourage healthy activities for the school?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the, we've been in locations that have had very minimal play space, outdoor and indoor. And so the new addition that we would be doing is a full-size gymnasium, and then we have sort of 3 separate play areas that would be developmentally appropriate for different age ranges. And so there's a lot of play space. We don't have a full-size field, but we do have lots of play space on site, both indoor and outdoor. So we're really excited about that.
Okay, and then through the messenger feed, what is the student to parent, the student to teacher ratio?
Oh, great question. I should know this off the top of my head. I believe it's 7-1. And I think that's actually something we didn't talk, because we're talking about the site and the project. We didn't talk a lot about our school model, but one of the things that is, I'd say, the most unique about our school is that we use a 2-teacher per classroom model, and we really invest a lot of our resources in having 2 full-time teachers for every classroom. So students have a lot of time working closely with teachers in small groups, and that's something that we think is really beneficial for students, and teachers love it. And it also makes teaching and the general environment very collaborative.
All right, and
I would like to add, can I just add one thing again? Here I am again. But you know my focus of grade level reading, with a goal of having every child read proficiently by the end of 3rd grade. And I want to tell you that what these children are doing, every one of them in this school, is very powerful. We are closing the achievement gap at Springfield Prep Charter School. So our African-American children and our Latino children are scoring at on MCAS at the same levels, because we have this incredible team of teachers, and we have this incredible response of using data, so that teachers know when children are having problems. And it is what I am the most proud of as I'm involved in this school, is that our children, all of our children, are achieving. And that's no mean feat today. And I think part of it is the 2-teacher model, but it's also these teachers use the data, and they understand how to use that data to inform instruction, so that these kids, they are scholars, they are succeeding. And it's why we, got the recognition that Bill talked about. So again, I interrupt, but I'm so proud of what we're doing here, for every child that comes through our doors.
Agreed. Thank you, Sally.
Is there another one, Guy?
One last one. How is the school making any changes, or are they making any changes to adapt with the environment that we're in right now and the outside learning?
If I'm understanding that correctly, just a question about remote learning in the time of coronavirus. And so we are, like many schools, we are recreating what it means to teach and learn, and it's not easy, but we are working very closely with students and families. Yanira and I were talking yesterday about her son Jarian's work, and so students are doing their work and checking in weekly with teachers in academic, in small groups, and also one-on-one. And I think that, this is a time that we're all forced to come together and be more creative, but it's been a nice, I would say it's one of the more inspiring things of what our community has done. Like many communities, including this council, you have to find different ways to operate and make sure that strong connection is maintained, because we know our students are important for the consistency in our lives, and we believe that our school is also important in their lives. And so we've had to adapt a lot, but I'd say we're very proud of the work we're doing, even remotely.
I have one last question that might be just a way of wrapping it up, unless Guy has something else. What's your time frame at this point, optimally? I mean, are you looking to be in the fall? What are you looking to do?
We are not looking to be, that's a great question. And sorry, we didn't include that in the slides. We are not looking to be in the fall. We are of this year. We're looking to be in the summer of the following year. So we will stay at our current location for the 2021 school year, and then would move in late summer, or mid to late summer of 2021 into the following 2021-22 school year would be our first year there. And it's really important that we stay on that timeline. We are right now, we serve students in grades K through 5, next year K through 6, and we are very much outgrowing our space and making the most of the space we have, but we do need to be in a bigger space. So we're really thrilled to have found a great permanent home and excited to move forward.
Okay. Guy, are there other questions? Did I cut you off?
John has a question.
John,
Oh,
go
I
ahead.
just had one and it regards traffic. The numbers all sound pretty good, but your entry and exit way on Memorial is not that many car lengths away from Roosevelt. And there'll be queues at that light because the light as it runs on Roosevelt is a much longer green light than what's given to the people that are coming from PFG across the street and from Memorial. So now when you have people exiting your yard, you could end up with a little bit of a queuing problem as they wait for that light. And having driven Roosevelt Avenue early in the mornings, a 15-minute difference in time makes a big difference in what's happening out there on that street. So there may be a little more of an issue when reality sets in terms of timing and people are trying to make turns out of your driveway and into your driveway and getting through that lit intersection, that Roosevelt Street intersection.
Yeah, let me just add to that. The full traffic study actually included a queuing analysis for all the approaches of all of those intersections. And you're right, on the Roosevelt approach, the queues do get lengthy. When you look at the Memorial Ave approach to the driveway, it would have an opportunity to locate it further away, only as much as at that first drive aisle, because when you come in right now, it's centered on the site and it's there because you're able to go equidistant from both ways. If you move it away from the light, it becomes a problem. Then everyone's going into that drive aisle that services the drive-through or the drop-off loop. It's something that we're going to have to manage. The study shows that the queue lengths get long. Obviously, if you're trying to exit the site and it's backed up, you're not going to be able to get out. But if you recall the site plan from the drop-off pickup area all along the rest of the frontage along Memorial, then you take a left, and not on the Roosevelt, then you take that left in the parking lot along Memorial. You can, I'm guessing now, you can probably get 15 to 20 vehicles stacked up on site before you start to impact the queuing. So the cycle will clear before that happens. So while queuing the numbers show what it is, I think there's provisions on site for managing that.
Okay.
John, I would just add, that's a great point to bring up. We do have a little bit of flexibility in our schedule. So what matters in terms of the charter that we have committed to is a certain number of hours, but we can shift a bit, 5 minutes, even 10 minutes. And the state is very willing to work with us on that. There are no issues on that. So if there was an issue, or like you're saying, just a few minutes shift would make a difference, and we notice that, that's very much something we can do to accommodate that.
Very good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think you've done a good job of. Ken, go ahead.
Yeah. Thanks guys for coming out, and thank you for the presentation. So the reason why I'm assuming that we don't want walkers, because it's pretty high traffic and dangerous road. But you said that there are some limited outdoor play areas. So outside of the school hours, like weekends and evenings, what's this prevent children from trying to go to the school, outside of school hours? Are there gates that will be locked, preventing them from going to the outside play areas?
That's a fantastic question. I will say that we would want to make the site available for use if that was beneficial to the neighborhood, and at the same time would not want that to happen if that was going to create a safety issue. So we would the full property is fenced in all the way around, which is important because there are busy streets. Roosevelt is a busy street. So I'm glad you brought that up. We would need to balance wanting to make sure that space is usable to the community if that's something the community wanted, but also to balance that with that safety concern. And so we could lock if that was something that we were worried about and determined we didn't want to happen.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for the question, Ken. All right, well, again, thank you very much. I really think that you've been extremely informative. And what I want to say to anybody who's viewing in, if you have additional questions or comments, if you want to, again, email us at contact@myesnc.com. And Bill has provided on this on the screen a couple of emails that you could also connect with him. But we're interested in hearing what you're thinking. So please let us know within the next couple of days. And okay, Bill, thank you very much. The whole team, thank you very much. You're welcome to hang in. We don't have a lot left on the agenda, but a little bit. So thank you very much. We really appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Kathy.
The next topic is going to be presented by Jim Toomey. He's with Palmer Paving, not to be confused with Palmer Renewable. He's with Palmer Paving, and Palmer Paving is looking for a variance to construct, a variance of the zoning ordinance to allow them to construct a membrane structure on site. Jim, thank you for joining us. Your picture's on the screen.
Everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Yeah, and again, thank you for the council for let me make this presentation. I'll be kind of short and brief, but I'm just going to give you a little history as to what led up to us needing this building. Last year, 2019, Mass DOT amended their hot mix manufacturing specifications, which every asphalt plant has to follow. And they mandated a covered open-ended building on site at every manufacturing asphalt plant to cover the recycled, particularly the recycled asphalt piles. And they mandated it for every plant, asphalt plant that makes specification mixes using the recycled asphalt. And this includes any city, town, DOT mixtures that are manufactured. So it includes, everything we do in the city, everything we do with cities and towns. And Palmer Paving Corporation. And again, if I didn't introduce myself, Jim Toomey with Palmer Paving. I'm the operations manager for Palmer Paving Corporation. The Palmer Paving has 4 asphalt plants currently in Western Massachusetts. 3 of them have already been installed with buildings. We had 1 year to comply, which will be up at the end of June. And that's to comply with this regulation. Now, you may ask the reasons for covering the asphalt, recycled asphalt. Number one, first, you should know that everything that comes into our facility does get recycled. There is very, very, very little waste, if any, that is promoted at the asphalt plant. We try to use and recycle everything that comes in. First of all, if the material doesn't get wet, this material has a tendency, when left uncovered, to get saturated with moisture. Hence, it takes a lot longer heating and manufacturing process to remove all that moisture from it so that it can be used in the manufacturing of asphalt. A lower temperature could be used if the material was drier, which would mean less emissions and conserve on fuel. And also, it would mean a more consistent end product. So everything would be at the ultimate temperature. But mostly, and one of the big reasons that we looked at is it would promote a safer workplace. Because currently, over the last few years, even though it wasn't mandated, we had crews struggling with tarps trying to keep large piles covered, with tires holding it down, climbing up and down the piles, and we actually had a couple of workers get injured. So it would provide a much safer workplace if we had this building to house the recycled product. So back in February, we approached the building department to apply for a building permit for the building that we'd like to put up. And it's a freestanding clear span building, which means there's no real foundation to it. It gets set on concrete blocks. You probably have seen similar buildings. I don't know if Smith & Wesson is still in the East Springfield neighborhood. There's one there, but it's not open-ended. It's actually closed, that they installed through a special permit and a variance a few years ago. The building department, because they don't have a regulation or a specification for this type of building, the only way that a permit can be obtained is to get a variance. So the variance itself is not to change any requirement. It's nothing really special. It's just that the city does not have a requirement or a specification in place for these type of buildings. Hence, everything goes through zoning and variance because of no specification on the building permit side of things to apply. We're unaware of that ourselves, but we've gone through the process working with the zoning board, and they've been very helpful. So as things would have it, the hearing date that we've had has been postponed several times, and very understandable. Right now, the hearing date is potentially scheduled for May 28th at 6:30, but that hasn't been confirmed. And with that, you know, I'm open to any questions that anybody may have, or I could explain on the site plan here where the proposed building is going to go. You can see by the dashed outline, it's going to go right close to the actual manufacturing facility. And you can see Cadwell off to the right. And all the markings at Cadwell, if you can't make those out, those are all trees and buffer there.
So from looking at the site plan from Cadwell, it doesn't look like you're going to be able to see that building at all. And from looking at the site plan, if I'm standing on Page Boulevard, it doesn't look like you'll be able to see it at all. Looks like when I'm driving off of 291 ramp, I can probably catch it in my eye.
Yeah, if you can see a pile of rocks now when you get on the ramp to 291, chances are you'll be able to see the top of this building.
Okay.
Yep.
Are there questions?
No.
Oh, actually, that was my only concern, was if it was visible, if it's going to be open and it would be visible, could we get some greenery or something put up around it to kind of pretty it up? But it sounds like it's not anything we're really going to be able to see unless we really look for it getting off the highway.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, John. There's existing piles there now.
Yeah.
And all this is just it's gonna cover it so that it keeps dry. And at any point, and again, I thank the council for having me make this meeting, and it's my first real Zoom meeting, and I was pretty impressed how smoothly everything went. Our site, our asphalt plant, if any of the council or any of the neighbors at any point want to take a walk through, and we could kind of explain the process to you a little bit, and see the site, see where we are, see what we're doing, you're more than welcome. My contact is with the council, but my email. So please feel free to reach out, or even if anybody has any questions or concerns.
Okay. Guy, any questions from the viewers?
No, nothing from YouTube, and I checked Facebook and nothing came in there.
Okay, all right. Well, Jim, I don't have any other questions, and I know you're very reachable. So if anybody does, we'll reach out to you. And you said that you've got a tentative date, but no confirmation for the 28th. So we'll plug that into our calendar.
Yeah, yeah, we can't do anything until naturally we get the building permit. So
Right.
we'll have to go through the process. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for joining us tonight. You can hang
Okay.
around. We're only going to be a couple more minutes.
Sure.
But
Thank you.
can certainly click out if you would like. Guy, are there any other questions from the community? Any other questions?
Would
Guys,
help if I unmuted.
yes.
No, not at this time.
Are there any questions from the community?
No.
No? Okay. All right. So again, if anyone has a question about anything, either the two topics we had presenters for tonight or any other topic we talked about or any issue, please give us a call or give us an email, contact@myesnc.com. And we hope that you will join us at one of our next meetings. I need my slide to read them now.
Sorry.
That's okay.
May 19th.
May 19th, thank you very much. On May 19th at 6:30, we'll have our board and police community meeting. And you can access it, I expect, from myesnconline.com. Thank you very much, everybody. Board, do you have anybody here have any other questions or comments? Oh, okay, well, have a good couple of weeks and get your masks ready for tomorrow if you don't already have it ready.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother. Oh, thank you. Thank you.